Welcome to Heart and Hand, the Rangers podcast, the podcast that enjoys Scottish football about as much as Ovie Ejaria does. This week on Heart and Hand, Rangers return to where we should be. So welcome to Heart and Hand, the Rangers podcast. My name's David Edgar and I'm joined this week live and in living colour by none other than Mr. James Forrest. No, not that one.
Hello David, nice to be here and to see you in person, a rare treat for me.
Yes, make the most of it, it won't happen a lot. And joining us from a remote location by the power of technology is none other than Mr. Cammy and James Bell.
Hello boys, hello. I've just kind of realised that since the two of you are together and I'm on the phone, this is a kind of Batman, Robin, Commissioner Gordon type scenario.
Yeah,
we were using like the old red phone from the bell jar. Do you know what I mean?
Are we saying now that James has stepped up into the Robin now that the previous Robin has left?
Well, he's no longer Catwoman. Let's put it like that.
Yeah,
I'll let you boys distinguish who's Batman and who's Robin.
G. Willikers.
I think that'll take a while, Cammy, to work out who's Batman. Okay, folks. Now, obviously, since we were last here on the main Heart and Hand shows, we didn't, because we were playing on Thursday. We didn't have a Heart and Hand extra last week, so since we talked to most of the audience, although you can always hear us on Patreon, folks, and you can buy an annual subscription now, so just be aware. But since we were last talking, we exited Europe with a 1-0 defeat in Vienna. A strange old game in that it was very nervy, James, and Rangers and Vienna thought, we couldn't string two passes together for the majority of the match. Both, I think, were very nervous. They needed a point, we needed the win. Rangers, I think, intent was obviously, we went with 4-1, was to keep it tight and try and nick the goal and get through that way. But in the end, couldn't quite do it. Hit the bar, came close, but then we couldn't quite do it, and that led to a breakaway mistake from Rangers, a breakaway 1-0, that was it, and we're out of Europe. And the overriding feeling for me was pride that we'd got as far as we did. But I think you can have two feelings at the same time. And while I was very proud and we've massively overachieved, and I certainly wasn't angry, I was a wee bit disappointed because I felt we could do it. We could have beaten them and we could have gone through.
The game itself wasn't one for the purists. No. So from a neutral, if you're a neutral watching that game, you'd be thinking, ugh. But do you know, it was always going to come down to fine margins, and the finest of margins from our point of view was Goldson hitting the crossbar. That was our best chance, and then Alan McGregor, who's been so good for us the whole European campaign. We wouldn't be in this position if it wasn't for him.
We'd have gone out in Maribor.
100%. He was the reason why we got past them and got to where we were, because we always saw that as the tough tie. Mm-hmm. And his back kick's not great, and they pick it up and they get the goal. And I think you're right to say that we're allowed to have those contrasting feelings, both in the you're allowed to look at the kind of overall campaign at that point, but also look at the game itself. There was some frustration because Rapid, as much as we weren't great, neither were Rapid, so they were there for us to take. And ultimately, there's frustrations where you just need one or two guys to just step up, be the guy to produce that, and no one really did that. The midfield seemed a bit off for a lot of the game, but overall the campaign has been absolutely wonderful. And my feeling has always been Europe for us this season has been for the fans to get us back there. It's a bonus, and it's for the fans to get those experiences for fans who maybe hadn't had a chance to have an away trip in Europe before, in the group stage, something that they can plan well in advance. Loads of people went out to Vienna
over 12,000. Incredible, isn't it?
Name me
2 weeks before Christmas.
Name me 5 other clubs in world football who would do that. There's no chance. So, incredibly proud of the team to have got to where we've got to, and also we finished third in the group. We were the bottom seeds, mm-hmm. and we finished third in that group, and the two teams who finished above us, over the head-to-head record, we actually have a better head-to-head record as well. So
in a way, though, Cammy, that makes it a little bit more frustrating for me, because, as James said, it wasn't the other night that we lost. It was 1 point from 6 against Spartak when we should absolutely, nobody to blame but ourselves. Well, maybe the linesman with that ridiculous offside against Alfie, but we absolutely should have taken a minimum of 4 from those 2 games. And I think maybe that's the frustration, because you think it's not we went into a group and the teams were just much better than us, and fair enough, there was not a lot we could do. It's just we could have done it, but we fell prey to that old Rangers thing of starting a group well, dipping in the middle and then blowing it at the end.
I think you've got to look at the entire European campaign in context. It's tough to do because we'll always look at, where we've been 12 months ago, 18 months ago, and the shitstorm that we were in at that time, and now all of a sudden we're sitting here going, we should have qualified into the latter stages European campaign. So, are we, getting ahead of ourselves? I think what you've seen in the last 6-7 months from a European campaign is we're setting ourselves a benchmark. I said at the time, when we started the group stage properly against Villarreal, for whatever reason we seemed to shit the bed. I maintain that we've still done that in matches within the European campaign where we've not started as confidently as we should have. I think that's probably cost us. Now that sounds incredibly harsh because we didn't know what level we were at. So I think if the players, the management team and the club as a whole actually can reflect back on this, what we can say very confidently is that we deserve to be part of that. We were there on merit. We did well. We got some great performances. We got some great results. So overall, you've got to feel very positive about the European campaign. Of course, we're disappointed not to progress. We were, trying very hard to make that happen against Vienna. I think he got it right. I know it sounds daft because obviously we lost him and went out. There was no reason to go gung-ho with that because a goal would have killed us. So I did enjoy the kind of slightly pragmatic approach to how he went into the game to look to see if we can be able to try and sneak it. The financial advantage that obviously qualifying to the next stages, would have been fantastic. But in fairness, none of us expected the financial gain that we've had when we were neck deep in qualifiers.
No.
So we've definitely had a lot of positives and benefits from it, and I think that by and large. And I will give a shout out to the fans because I don't know another club in the world that takes 6 times as many fans as you have tickets.
Yes.
It's phenomenal, and from everything I've heard, everyone had a great time, which is great. I've done it myself. A lot of times it's for the trip. I do know that there's a lot of people going. It was their first time away. What I can tell you is, if they're in like me, as soon as you go, you absolutely love it and you want to do it again. So there's a benchmark now, which I believe that the club has set itself. And for that we should be very proud, and I think, like you say, it's a positive story for me. It's a good news story overall.
As Cammy says, it's a platform to build upon. We did overachieve from our expectations. Being Rangers, we're always going to be a bit disappointed that we didn't go that bit further. That's who we are, but it was still, I think, overall, as he says, a positive, although there were some disappointing moments. There were some great moments, and I think now we can reflect, although James, as you and I being sad Italian Serie A fanboys, then Rapid Vienna get drawn out of the hat against Inter and it's laugher. But overall, now it's time to just put that behind us and get through the rest of this month and refocus and recharge the batteries, get some new players in January and move on.
Time to dominate Scotland again. We've had our kind of European foray, which has been absolutely wonderful. And as much as I said, this time it was for the fans. That's it. Going forward, we should aim to be at that level at the very, very least as well. So that's where we look to going forward in the future. But we've surpassed that. That was never in our minds as something we would look to have this season. So. It's time to focus and start winning these games and start producing performances again in these domestic games, because we know how oppositions like to play against us. So let's see what we can do to combat that and not look like we're struggling and almost walking through treacle to get results, which I think has been starting to kind of become a bit of a theme of late in terms of our game. I don't know whether that's down to fitness or whether that's down to a mentality issue, because there's been bigger games that have been kind of on the horizon in Europe.
I think they look tired. I think they look mentally tired. And I know that whenever you say that about footballers, people quite rightly say, well, I do 12-hour shifts and they don't have to do that. And it is correct, but it still doesn't change the fact that players who play a lot of game in a short period of time, they lose a bit of sharpness. That is inevitable. That is what happens to them. I think you've seen that with Rangers the last few weeks, because the thing that's went right downhill, Cammy, has been decision making. They're still competing, they're still doing the things you would expect a sportsman to do. They have great levels of physical fitness, but they're just not quite as sharp as they have been previously this season.
No, they're not, and I think it goes a bit beyond that for me in terms of it's great experience for Gerrard and his management team as well to have that different facet of football. You have to approach it differently. Cup football is cup football, but when you're dealing with a European stage, I still think that the paradigm shifts dramatically. The other thing, just to kind of call out as well, is we've done very well in this European campaign with no serious injuries out the back of it. I know obviously we've had the suspensions and whatever else as well. At times probably refereeing has emulated what it's been trying to do domestically. But overall, I think that we went through that European campaign. I struggle to think really of any kind of real disadvantages. We've had a major learning point. Yes, the players, it has taken a toll on them. I do believe that we've had some degree of domestic impact with that.
I think we have. I think
because
I think we have.
It's been difficult. It's been difficult to maintain that sharpness. The European games, especially when you're in those tight weeks, they're very thick and fast. Within the course of a fortnight, you could have played 3 games within that window. 2 domestically, 1 in Europe, etc. So I think within that, it's difficult to be able to maintain a run. But again, I think the team have coped with it well. And I think, as I say, we came out of it. I think we came out of it with good marks. And I think if we had to promote ourselves back into a European stage to show, yes, this has been our journey and this is where we are now, I think that we will have surprised a lot of people with how well we performed across that piece. And I think the players and management have to be very proud of that.
So we went into the match on Sunday against Hamilton Accies at Ibrox, and I think all fairly confident, with no disrespect meant to Hamilton. They're not a very good side. Their league position tells you that, performances tell you that. It wasn't being disrespectful at all to suggest that, and even if it was, we're still Rangers and we should be beating fucking Hamilton Accies at home. And lovely day at Ibrox, turned up, and Rangers absolutely blitzed them, James, in the opening 5 minutes. We scored after 3, and as I've said in other places, it had been coming. Lafferty, and we'll come to him, Cammy, Lafferty misses a sitter from about a yard out, and Rangers then immediately score. Daniel Candeias gets a goal, and at that point, mate, I'm thinking, here we go, we're going to put this one to bed. And we were dominant, we just couldn't get the next goal. And as happens when that happens, we began to get a little bit tense. Now, having sat and watched the game back this morning, when I was in the ground yesterday, maybe the tension of the last 20 minutes when I was going, don't screw this up, don't, because obviously we know what happened with Celtic at Hibs. That made it a bigger match for us. And I was not alone in going, they're going to score one, aren't they? It's just the scar tissue of what's happened to us the last few years. But Rangers did hold out. And then watching it back this morning with the advantage of knowing the result, Rangers did create a shitload of chances yesterday. People might be saying, no, we did. Yes, we did. Rangers should have scored 3 or 4 goals yesterday. Based on the chances they made, never mind the opportunities that they should have made, as we said earlier, through bad decision making. But given the tenseness of the league campaign at the moment, if you don't get that cushion, there is going to be nerves among the fans. It's natural.
Yes, definitely. It was an incredible start to the game, actually. It was really, really good because we hadn't maybe seen that level of that press, that real press, and really going at it right from the start. Yeah. And as you say, all round, and having that dynamic of the 2 fullbacks who are able to bomb on and can deliver good crosses and are attack minded. It gives you that extra dimension on the left hand side.
Barisic is huge in that regard, isn't he?
Massive. And also his relationship with Grezda, to ex-teammates, at Osijek beforehand. So they know each other's game, and you could see that Grezda actually benefits from having a left back like Barisic behind him to then be able to play the way he likes to. And once he moved to the right, I don't think we saw the same level of creativity from him at that point afterward. I thought, the chance that Lafferty missed, it's one of those. I mean, he runs through on the goalkeeper in like the first minute. is able to get the ball off the goalkeeper.
He did really well, yeah.
Did really good to do that, but then we couldn't quite get the goal then, and then couldn't quite get the goal then. But then after 3 minutes, Daniel Candeias there with the opener, and you're right. I'm at that point expecting it to be 2 or 3-0 after like 20 minutes, and
I thought by half time the game would be out of sight.
For sure. Second half, yeah. I mean, at the time, I was a bit like, we're not really creating enough. But you look back on it, we did, because we were trying to. There was a lot of crossing, but just couldn't quite
get there in the end.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. Cammy, your boy. Now, I thought leaving the ground yesterday he'd had a nightmare, but watching it back, he did do things well at times. But overall, I still can't say that I thought he played well. He did some good things. He looks... I don't know, is he trying too hard? Is he shit out of confidence? I mean, what is it?
Yeah, he's trying too hard and he's shit out of confidence.
I'm good, me, aren't I? I mean,
well, I mean that's what it is. I mean that's why people listen to this podcast.
Yeah.
The issue with Lafferty is I firmly believe if he scores the header at the back post, that he then goes on to get a hat trick. What I will say for him. So listen, I'm very happy to criticise him because
you bastard.
No, but see, at the end of the day, right, David, listen, I'll always be honest. We're always honest in heart and hand. So there's no point in me pretending otherwise. He is shit out of confidence and he does need to be able to take his chances. However, my outstanding love for Kyle Lafferty to one side, any player on that team who has to get into that starting 11 has to be able to capitalise on the opportunity they've been given.
Especially when he is behind the most undroppable player in the team.
But absolutely. So the thing is, he has to be able to keep that going. Do I think that Lafferty has potentially spurred Morelos on to give him a bit more of a kind of emphasis? Very possibly, in terms of how much we've seen from Morelos from that perspective, because I think that Alfie would not have wanted to see his position under threat. I don't think he thinks it's under threat if he saw Lafferty yesterday anyway. But having said that, there's other work which he's trying to do, and what you may remember, there was an incident yesterday where Lafferty, you'll remember it from the tail end, where there's a point in the second half where Lafferty's trying to side foot it into the net, and the Hamilton defender has got his arms around him and kind of twists his body slightly. I'm sure you guys will remember the one that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But that entire move came from Lafferty picking up the ball literally within 10 yards within the Hamilton half. And what he's done is he's created it. He's motored, as soon as he's released the ball, he's motored into that position where he then gets it back and creates the opportunity. And it's probably the Wayne Rooney syndrome of when you're seeing, you're not scoring goals as a striker, which is expected of you, you start dropping further and further back. That being said, and again, I'm not going to, cut any corners in terms of it, he wasn't doing a lot of the hold-up play well, which is a kind of default staple of Kyle Lafferty. If he's not scoring, at least he'll hold the ball up and progress it into other parts of play. So there is a confidence thing there. There is definitely. I'm very, very honest in terms of I do think if he scores the header at the start of the game, then he goes on to get a hat-trick. I'm not taking anything away from the Hamilton goalkeeper from the save at the end, which was world class.
Yes,
by the way,
no idea how the boy got to that. It was like fucking Gordon Banks.
And the thing is, though, that in that space, and if you watch that, if you watch that again that week in a segment of play, even afterwards, Lafferty can't believe it. He starts to celebrate. He actually runs away, starting to celebrate. Then realises that the keeper saved it, and then actually congratulates the goalkeeper. As we're waiting for the ball to come in from the corner. So he must be the person in Ibrox who cannot believe that the goalkeeper saved it to that degree, because he absolutely thought that's going in. So no, absolutely, I do believe that he has got the opportunity to be able to come good for us. We need to buy strikers in the January window. If that puts Lafferty down the pecking order, then so be it. At the end of the day, we can't be that nervous with a 1-0 lead against Hamilton at home. I totally understand the tension in the stadium yesterday. I was exactly the same when I was...
It gripped everybody. I mean, James, we were all sitting... And it wasn't because anything was seen in the game. Because if you look at it, Hamilton make one half chance, McGregor deals with easily. That's it. That's all they come up with. It's just given the amount of kicks in the balls that we've received recently that you're always thinking, we know what happens here, we know this. There's a fatal...
Yeah, this is the syndrome, though, of this the key second goal. And bizarre as it sounds, the Celtic result just put, I think, further pressure on us to be able to try and get that result. And I think, as you say, it's the slapping the balls, then the kicking the balls, where you're expected to win, and you want to win even more because Celtic have dropped points. So there's that additional pressure put onto you as well. So looking back on it, knowing what the result is, you're looking back going, Jesus, no idea why I was so nervous. When you're watching it, you're absolutely shitting bricks because, again, you just don't want to fail to capitalise on that opportunity. So,
James, I was impressed the last two matches with Ross McCrory, and I know there's a wee bit of blame attached to him for the goal in Vienna, but I still think overall he was excellent. And what I like about him is when he patrols that area, he wins the ball and he immediately gives it, but he gives it forward all the time. He's always looking to nip in, win the ball and give it forward. And there's a dynamism about him that I don't think we get from maybe some of our other midfielders.
Yeah, he's a player who knows what his role is and is very comfortable in that role. Win the ball back from the opposition. First thought, who can I give it to that's going to advance the ball further? Because that's not my game, but I know guys who can do that. So let me see who's there. And he's got, once or twice there was a couple of stray passes in there when he was trying to play it forward. It just went a bit ski whiff. But other than that, I thought, he had a very, very good game. And he's very natural for that role, for that holding midfield role. Probably the most natural, actually, in the squad. Thinking about it, you look at other guys that have played there over the course of the season. Koulibaly, maybe not quite at the level that we were maybe thought initially that we saw. He's kind of dipped away. Rossiter, I don't think we can necessarily at the moment rely on him purely from a fitness point of view. Ryan Jack, maybe his game is slightly different from that. So, I certainly would like to see if we're going to play with a holder in a team for whatever game we feel is necessary for that. I think Ross McCrory would be, for me, the first choice for that role.
I just think it's something different and it's something that we lack in there. But overall, Cammy, we didn't learn anything we didn't know already, which is that we lack creativity. We tend to stick to the same tactic at the moment, which is get the ball wide, fizz the cross in. We had 22 corners. We had God knows how many crosses into the box. And we know we need to get to January by hook or by crook in a half-decent position and then add a couple of players into that midfield area who can give us that wee bit extra, that shot from distance, that pass, that little bit of inspiration that maybe a Graham Dorrans could have done but unfortunately can't. And we need someone who can come in and do things a little bit different in there.
Yeah, it sounds slightly contradictory if you're saying we lack creativity, but we put in, I think, just over 2,000 corners. The issue is it's adaptation for me. That would probably be the terminology I would use. And if we can get a midfielder who can provide something different to just being able to go down the flanks, and if there's no crosses, crosses not being converted, because there's plenty of them coming in. Again, it's another point in Lafferty, which I probably should have touched on. That for someone with his frame, how terrible he is in the air at times. That being said, obviously, I had two headers which should have been goals.
Yeah, they were bad headers.
Absolutely. First one's a bad header. Second one's an excellent header, which was, met by a phenomenal save.
I think it's a phenomenal save, but I think he missed times to jump. I think if you look at it, he's coming down when the ball arrives, whereas if he'd timed to jump right, he'd have got over it, headed it down, and it would have been a goal. But anyway, I'm maybe being harsh.
Yeah, sorry. I know you just hate Kyle Lafferty.
I'm right.
But the point is that, if we can have someone who can mix up in terms of a shot from distance, being able to try and play it through the middle of the park. So, again, when we've seen it before, if teams start to kind of condense like Dundee did, for example, then what we're looking to be able to try and do is mix and match it slightly. But we do need someone who can strike balls from 25 to 30 yards out. Because see, at the very least, even if Morelos is playing or we've got someone else who's quite nippy, what we can then do is if a keeper has to force a save, they can get the mop up. And I think that's something which we need to be able to try and look at. And I'll be looking towards that in the transfer window. For me, the priority is a striker. Absolutely, 110% a striker. But coming back to the McCrory thing just very, very quickly, what's interesting, and you've kind of hit the nail on the head there as well, is we've got a number of different tools in that midfield box, to coin a really wanky management term, where we should be able to mix and match style, quality, current performance, confidence levels based on the opposition and based on what we know each individual player can be able to try and give to us. Because Ryan Jack will run forever and a day, but he doesn't have the penetration that we've just mentioned there in terms of McCrory. McCrory, for me, and another plus point for him, has cut out, for me, some of the mistakes which probably saw him penalised last season. So he might have overran the ball, he might have made silly decisions, which has kind of cost him a red card. All of that, for me, looks like that's been coached out of his game. So I'd absolutely be comfortable giving McCrory a run into your team. And what that would further emphasise is that once you're in the team, if you're playing well, you don't get dropped. Whoever you're replacing, irrespective of age, seniority, anything like that, you have to play to get back in that team, and that's a healthy position to be in.
There's one less position and they're fighting for it now, James, and that's with the news that Ovie Ejaria has returned to Liverpool. Sounds as though it was his own request, and obviously the club's then chatted to him. Steven Gerrard today said, does he understand it? Yes. Is he happy with it? No, because he thought Ovie Ejaria had a great opportunity here to play at a big club in front of 51,000 people, but if he's not happy, doesn't want him about the place. Now, you don't know what's going on in somebody's personal life, so I don't think it's fair. He said, the manager said it's 100% football reasons. There are rumours, no more than that, but rumours that Ovie Ejaria said he found the Scottish League a little bit too physical. But I think it kind of ties into what we've seen with a few of the lone players who've come in, especially midfield, with Zalalem and Heinemann spring to mind. That Sean Goss as well last season. That they start off really well, they dip. And I think at the start it's the adrenaline of, wow, I'm here, look how big this club is, look at all these fans. And they start well, the adrenaline, then they dip, which is natural, it can happen, especially with the youngsters. But then when that happens and they're for the first time really in their lives, they're in the eye of this criticism that comes from being at a big club where fans are like, I don't care, play well, this is who we are. And they can't handle it. And that does make me think that long term, I think if you look at all the kind of academy players that we've brought in, so far the only one you would say was a success has really been Ryan Kent. And I do wonder if with Rangers it's a good idea for certain clubs, but maybe not for a club of our size, because I just don't know. The pattern seems to repeat consistently with this. And I wonder if we wouldn't be better off maybe just going to our own youth team. Because there's also this thing in any job, if it's a temp job, and a loan is, of course, essentially a temp job, you have an escape route if things get tough. Whereas if you're there and it's your only option, you have to just get your head down and your arse up and get on with it. Whereas I do wonder with these players if there is a bit at the back of their mind that goes, I come out of here in 3 months anyway.
I think, well, talking specifically about Ejaria, he looked like, both in his playing style and sort of his demeanour kind of off the field as well, he seemed like overly relaxed. But I think, to an extent that can be quite a good trait, but too much of a good trait can often be a bad trait in the long run.
Like, I'm too sexy.
And you know it. But, with Ejaria, I think once he started getting criticism, and he didn't quite expect it, because I think there's some fans, the way that he plays,
it's new to him. He hasn't gone through this before.
There's some Rangers fans that just won't take to a guy who plays the way that he plays.
That kind of languid style.
For some clubs that style can absolutely work. I don't think it really works for Rangers, particularly in that role, particularly in the kind of mode that we are in just now. So it's not surprising, and he's a young guy as well. You remember that, and I think in time he'll look back on it and think he missed an opportunity, because it's a strange thing to do, to kind of cancel your loan as early as that, as well. Does does that help his long-term Liverpool career?
I wouldn't have thought turning back up at Anfield with a bad report on your attitude from Steven Gerrard and Michael Beale and Tom Culshaw is going to do you much good. No,
that could be a concern for him. That'll be one I'll keep an eye on in terms of where his career goes. And you look at that. This point in his career is massive for him. Your point on loan players is an interesting one actually as well. Like I never really thought about it from a point of view of, you look at some of the youth players. Andy Dallas yesterday, no, not that one, on the bench, and that's a starting point.
Yeah, he was a fourth official too. He did double duty yesterday.
Yeah,
fourth official and on the bench for Rangers.
You have no idea how high this goes. But I'm impressed with the fact that we're starting to bleed through guys, and I get the feeling that Steven Gerrard is the kind of manager who wants to try and bring through some of these guys in as well. So maybe we are getting to a point where we should do, and rather than Ovie Ejaria played more games for Rangers than he has played at any other club combined in his career. Are those the kind of players that we should be bringing on loan? I'm not sure. Ryan Kent makes a bit more sense because he had a full season at Barnsley where he was one of their top performers. Has had experience of playing abroad in Freiburg, which maybe didn't go as well, which also is quite important for someone's development in their career. So to then come to Rangers from there and to be performing the way he is, actually, there's maybe not as much of a surprise there as well. So maybe we need to be careful about the kind of loan players that we're bringing in. Guys like Zalalem, guys like Heinemann, are they going to be ones that are significantly going to improve the team? Probably not. Is there someone in the youth academy that might be just as good for that job? Maybe not, but it's probably a better risk to take, I would suggest, because the reward is much higher for us in the long run. Yeah.
Cammy, your thoughts?
I think it's difficult for these young players to be able to come in. James is right in terms of you could have a mix of experience from one player to the other if you've had the opportunity to play abroad. There's absolutely no doubt to my mind. And listen, if you remember, for anyone who's at the Clint Hill live show, he mentioned straight off the bat the expectation level at Rangers, the fact that the crowd can turn on you if you're not performing, etc. And this is a guy who has played in massive games in huge leagues, and he still found that daunting, and he's twice the age of Ovie Ejaria. What I will say is, for Ejaria's credit, is I never really thought as if he downed tools or anything like that. I never thought he just gave up the ghost. I think it can be pretty unsettling. Your point to homegrown players, David, is interesting, because I don't know if you say to 18-year-old external loanee Rangers expectations, because you're here for 6 months, 12 months, whatever, or whether or not you say that to a 12-year-old academy player and it's ingrained from them at the start. Now, obviously, Liverpool, massive club, I'm absolutely certain that they'll have done similar with their youth development systems, etc. as well. But the key difference to this for me is, I don't think Ovie Ejaria expects to play in the Liverpool first team on a consistent basis. I don't think any of us will expect to see that happen. That sounds like as if I'm kind of pulling the lad down, but I think you know what I mean.
No, I don't see it. I don't quite know. I don't think Ovie Ejaria's figured out quite what he is yet, because he does have a skill set, but I don't quite see where he fits in a team at times. He doesn't do enough to be an attacking midfielder, and he's not quite sturdy enough yet to be a defensive midfielder. So I think he needs to figure it out. This is my point though, Cammy, about one of these loans, is that I worry that they're maybe better for the player than they are for us.
Possibly, but then there's a little bit of a difference between being in a comfort zone and being in a growth zone. And I think a player has got the right, and I will say this, irrespective of the club that they are, either the parent club or their loanee club, that they need to be selfish and they need to be able to try and grow with that. If you look at Middleton, for example, Middleton was selfish, and he probably said, and he took risks in terms of saying, actually, I don't want to play in the first team yet, I want to be able to go, continue to develop, continue to enhance my game and take it from there. And that, I know it sounds crazy, but the thing is, that's a really, really mature thing to do from someone at that age. Now, if you take a loanee, for example, and you then say to him, look, this is Rangers, we are one of the biggest clubs in the world. Domestically, we have got massive pressure on us. We are very much in a transitional period within the club's history. The fans will not expect, the kind of things that you can perform, but what you will hear is an expectation of, when you have that shirt on, you give absolutely everything. And sometimes that can be really difficult for a loanee player to come in and actually buy into straight away. I think we've got the coaching set up to ingrain that into players, and this is his first time in that position, bringing in loanee players and having to set that expectation. So do you know what? It might be a learning period, and this might be a lesson for Gerrard to turn around and go, look, if we continue to tap into the Liverpool talent pool, then for me, absolutely that's a resource that we cannot ignore. But he probably has to turn around then and say to whoever he's having these conversations with at Liverpool under Klopp's staff, and say, look, I will take X player, but what I'm telling you right now is, if that person cannot deal with this pressure, there is no point in them coming to us.
But then the point from Liverpool's point of view is to find out if he can. That's why they're sending him to us.
100%, but conversely, we've just put Billy Kirkwood in a position where we're looking after loan players being able to try and get out with this. Now, I did scratch my head at that appointment, but when you consider scenarios such as this, actually that seems to be quite savvy. Now, obviously, it's not the first time that's happened. It's the first time it's happened to us, but it obviously goes on at other clubs. But the thing is, though, that with that player's welfare in mind, then you have to try and take it from there. So we're not Gerrard. So in that scenario, for example, Gerrard says to him, this is what the expectation is. And then the parent club, their loan manager, whatever you want to call that person in that kind of position, amplifies that message. Then what we're doing is we're setting that player up with an expectation that they've got to go and deliver. And do you know what? If you can't do that, fair enough. But it probably does put quite a heavy steer on where your next club may be, the direction of your career, etc. And that comes back to the point you said earlier on, David. I don't even know if Ejaria knows what his best position is, because we can't answer that question at the moment. He had the opportunity to be able to shine with some of that up here. It hasn't worked. Okay, no harm, no foul. Away he goes. He's got pretty much all of our best wishes. But maybe the lesson for him out the back of that is maybe what he was trying to do here does not suit his game. Maybe he can't deal with the physicality of it. Maybe he has to play in another position or play in another league where that's not as much as a problem. But for us, being selfish, we have to bring in players of, in my opinion, the correct calibre, who understand where we are at the moment. It's all very well and good having Rangers' history and legacy, but where we are in the current climate of this overwhelming amount of fan expectation because of how starved we are of success, you need to be able to deal with that. And if you can't deal with that, then, as I say, maybe you don't have the calibre to come to a club and perform.
Wouldn't disagree with that. Now, we head off to Easter Road this week for what's going to be a very difficult fixture, because regardless of form, I think we all know that Hibs will turn up against us and give it everything they have. They haven't been playing well, but they picked up 2 decent wins over the last couple of weeks, including probably their best performance, and no problem about it, their best performance this season when they defeated Celtic 2-0 at the weekend there, and were well worthy from what I saw of it, James. I mean, they deserved it, got a goal early, exploited Celtic's weaknesses on the flanks and got a good result. One of the things about Hibs is that at least, yes, they're going to come out and play us like it's a cup final, but they do it against Celtic too. There's a lot of teams in the SPFL that don't quite do that. They don't manage to give the same against Celtic as they give against us, and Hibs do. So we need to go there and be aware that they're going to be flying at the traps. They're going to be very confident, and they're going to come at us. The converse side of it is, for us, we've complained recently that we struggle against packed defences. We're going to get room to play.
Aye, so yes, that does help with the way that we expect to play. My fear, and what I hope doesn't happen, is we try to be overly clever and think, well, that's how they're going to play, so we're going to do something different. No. The way that we normally...
Celtic kind of tried that with us 3-5-2 and it did not work at all.
Yeah, exactly. So we know how we play best and we can get the best performances, and the way that Hibs play best, it means that it's going to be an open game. So it's a game for me that will come down to the two defences, and I think our defence now is a lot more settled. As I say, if we played that same back five, that what we did on Sunday, I'll be very happy. I think that's the back five you want to have going into that. I'd even say Ross McCrory in there as well would probably be a very, very fair shout. So yeah, I think it stands us in good stead. We need to have, having Morelos back in there is going to be massive for us.
That for me would be the only change. I'd bring Morelos in for Lafferty, and that would be it for me. Yeah,
I'd probably be the same. I can't think of anyone else I'd maybe want in at this stage, but you know, he will be massive for us from an attacking point of view, and you know the link up play that we saw bits of, maybe not all the time, but bits of there will come into play as well. So tough game. You know, Hibs have good players. They are not quite the level that I expected them to be. I honestly thought they would be the best of the rest going into this season. They've dipped a wee bit. I think that's partly down to their manager's mentality not quite being in it now. I don't think he's...
I think as well they did lose McGinn and McGeoch, who were the best players.
Well, that's also fair, but they do have attacking talent. You know,
Yeah,
McLaren and Canberra are probably...
Canberra's a good striker.
Yeah, they are good for this league. You know, they are higher end strikers for this league for sure. So I don't rate their defence though as much though. So I think we can score. It's just about... yes, indeed. So we've got to score, and we've got to be solid at the back. You know, basic football. I should be a coach.
You could be with that attitude.
I know, exactly.
That's great insight, James. We need to score and try not to concede any. I do. I think there's gold in that plan, mate. You should share it with people. Cammy, I think that, as James said, you know you're going to get against Hibs, especially the first 20 minutes. They're going to come out ferociously against you, and you have to stand up to that, and if possible actually be calm and try to take advantage of the space that will grant you at the back.
Yeah, I think what you want to be able to try and do is again, if we had to use the kind of wanky managerial phrases, is you want to try and recycle the ball quite quickly, let Hibs chase you a little bit, because they will do the press, they will try to shut you down really quickly. Our players, I would say the first third of the game will have no real concerted time in the ball. If you think that you're going to be able to take 2, 3, 4, 5 touches in order to try and pick out a pass or do anything like that, you're really not going to get it. I think we need to be very careful for Morelos, because I would absolutely expect Lennon to target him and wind him up.
Yeah, they are. They're going to do that. Everyone's going to do that now.
Yeah, they are, but the thing is though that Lennon, that he was like that as a player, he was like that as a coach at Celtic. He knew how to be able to get into the heads of opposition players, and he utilised his players in the best possible way to be able to try and make that happen. So I would expect him to get one early doors. I watched part of the game and watched the highlights yesterday. I think for me, Celtic caused a lot of their own downfall, if I'm perfectly honest, because I think that defensively they were absolutely atrocious. Rodgers got it completely wrong. One other thing which is important with that, however, was that Mallon, for me, looks very, very comfortable. Not necessarily stepping into the John McGinn role, but in terms of that industry in the middle of the park, but with his ability and his range of passing, I think can be very, very dangerous. Quite a few opportunities came for Hibs where they had committed men forward. Mallon receives the ball and then he's able to ping over a ball onto a winger who's making space. So I totally agree with you boys. The only change I would make would be Morelos in for Lafferty, but on the premise that our fullbacks don't go a wandering and stick to the kind of core basics. Let them use a lot of their energy. Let them wind it down slightly. I have got zero doubt he will absolutely be motivated to get the Old Firm scalp. If he can do that in a double header, he'll be absolutely over the moon with that. So what we need to be able to do, we need to take our chances. We won't have anywhere near the level of ammunition that we had against Hamilton at home. So we need to come into that with a proper mindset of as soon as you get an opportunity, you've got to finish it. And as I say, I think we can take the 3 points. I really do. I don't think Hibs are by any way the finished article. But again, like you say, they will be dangerous and he will absolutely be motivated for it.
I'm going to go for Rangers 2-1, James.
I'm going to go for Rangers 3-2.
Oh, sounds an exciting game. Cameron?
To be different, I'll say 3-1 with Hibs to lead up until the 70th minute, Lafferty to come on in and score a hat-trick.
I think we all agree that we don't want Hibs to have a red card though, because we're not very good at that. So, but if Hibs get a red card, could Rangers immediately just have one of the players walk over and punch Lennon and take the red card for that.
Could Lennon be sent off though?
Probably will be.
Probably will be actually at some point. Yeah,
that is going to happen. Okay then, folks, that's pretty much it for us this week here on Heart and Hand. We will be back on Thursday with Heart and Hand Extra. Now there's no longer the European games, unfortunately. We'll discuss everything that happened in the Hibs match before looking ahead to the weekend's match. Before we go, just to let you know that you can always hear more from us if you go to patreon.com/heart and hand, where you will find loads and loads of wonderful content, not just football these days actually. We've even got a darts one during the World Championships, but there's tons of entertaining chat there. Just go to patreon.com/heart and hand, just $1.99. Please sign up for that. And also, we will be, thanks to phenomenal demand, genuinely, our live show with Kevin Thompson at Ibrox in February sold out in minutes, and a lot of people saying they didn't even get a chance to get tickets. Well, this week you will, because tickets will be going on sale on Wednesday. If there's any left over after going to Patreon, and that, no apologies, that's Patreon. Patreon guys get a pre-sale link. That's part of the thing for subscribing, but we will be putting tickets up on sale if there's any left over public on Wednesday at 1 o'clock in our social media, on our website, the usual places. If you want to come see Kevin Thompson with us on Friday the 15th of March in the beautiful Ibrox Suite at Ibrox, then please come along. It'll be a wonderful night, and Kevin has promised to 2-foot Cammy for being cheeky to him, so you're fucked, mate.
He's getting it.
Oh, full of the big talk, isn't he? Now, just before we go, we've just got time for our total Hartson Award, and that's when we go around the world of, well, football, but sport, anything really in general, to see who's made the biggest dick of themselves and said or done something that's so stupid that it could have issued from the mind and mouth of the former Wales striker John Hartson. James, the floor is yours.
Normally we like to give this award to a person. However, I'm going to be slightly different this week. I'm going to give it to a programme. And the programme, specifically, is Sports Scene.
Okay.
Now, Sports Scene, at the moment, is just a terrible, terrible programme. And I tend to avoid it. However, I wasn't able to avoid this absolute fuck-up that Sports Scene did. When they showed the highlights of our game afterwards, they have the wee stats in the bottom corner to kind of say what happened in the game kind of overall.
Yeah, like corners, yellow cards, that kind of thing.
Exactly. So whilst the interesting Stephen Thompson and the bleep Michael Stewart were talking their nonsense, they had the stats up for the Rangers-Hamilton game. Now, when we were at the game, I was fairly convinced it was 1-0 to Rangers.
It was, yes.
Yeah. Well, apparently it wasn't, because according to Sports Scene, it was a 0-0 draw.
Right, okay. They're now not counting goals from Rangers.
Pretty much, it seems like that, yeah. I felt we dominated possession in the game. I don't think Hamilton had. Apparently, we only had 52% of the ball.
No, it was in the 60s.
Yeah, at least, I think.
I think it was around about 63.
Yes. We counted genuinely about 20 corners.
22.
My eyes are deceiving me, because apparently we only had 4.
Now how do you... I mean, surely somebody goes, no, wait a minute, I've just watched this game. They had a corner every 20 seconds. There's no way that's accurate. But it's BBC Scotland. It's shoddy. They don't care.
The pièce de résistance with this, right? Bookings. Now, I can't remember how many bookings happened in the game, but with bookings they tell you which players got booked, which is quite interesting. I was like, all right, okay. For Hamilton, they had one player booked who was Willock. I didn't know Willock played for Hamilton.
He doesn't play for Hamilton, no.
No. That's not the best one, though. For Rangers, we had one player booked. Gallagher.
No.
Gallagher with a G. I'm quite surprised that we would have...
No, we wouldn't have a Gallagher with a G.
No. So...
Yeah, they are. It's a shoddy, shambolic programme, and it doesn't surprise me. Cameron?
I think my one now, probably, because I like the Sports Scene one, because there was quite a few interesting pieces in there. One was... the idea that Scott Brown's tackle was only a yellow card,
yes.
Which Michael Stewart, for all of his bleating about referees, actually has the audacity to come out and say that assault was only a yellow is just phenomenal. For me, I think the Hartson now, and I think it's going to be this way until the inevitable happens, but it's going to be Jose Mourinho. He is losing it big style. He came out after getting pumped by Liverpool to state that Liverpool were better and faster and stronger, which I'm sure is every word that Man United fans want to be able to hear. Josie's, I know you guys obviously do the Seagull show on the Patreon site, but Josie's done, he's finished, he's absolutely, served his time at Man United. He does. How he survived, I've got no idea now.
Because it will cost 60 million to get rid of him and his team. He's due 35 million in his back pocket. And you're right, and now his interviews are just basically, pay me off. Can I have my money, please?
It's the simple fact as well that he doesn't. I mean, don't get wrong, I understand the argument that most people have when you talk about getting rid of Mourinho is, well, who do you replace him with? I understand that at the moment. But Mourinho now, just all he wants to talk about is his past glories. He just wants
no
to talk
fucking
about,
wonder, would you be talking about what's currently going on?
But the thing is that he can't even motivate guys now like Pogba and all the rest of it. So he needs to take time out of football in order to be able to do that. He has got absolute world-class talent as a manager. He just cannot inspire that team to do anything further anymore. No. He's going to stay as Hartson, as far as I'm concerned, until the inevitable happens, and Man United need to get rid of him in some capacity.
Yeah, the favourite thing that for me that Mourinho does is whenever he's interviewed after like a 2-1 loss, he'll say, well, actually we scored 2 goals, but one of them was our own goal. So
technically we won. He doesn't. I mean, you can see now that he's actually gone through the pain, and now he's in acceptance, as I think grief counsellors call it, and he's just waiting on his money. So we'll need to see how that resolves itself. I'll give it to Sportscene because they deserve it. So well done, Sportscene. You're probably quite proud of this, Sportscene, but yes, you win this week's Hartson
Award. The only award they're going to fucking win.
No, it's true, soon. But Hartson ex-Celtic will be over the moon. Okay, folks, thank you very much for joining us. Just time to thank my executive producers in London, Mr. Mike Lee and Paul Myers. To thank my guests today, the wonderful Mr. James Forrest.
Thank you, David.
The splendid Mr. Cameron and James Bell.
Thank you, David.
And we will be back on Thursday with Heart and Hand Extra. Until then, enjoy Easter Road, and we'll be back soon. Cheers, bye.